Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about my collection of RCMP figures. As many of you know, the RCMP has a long and well-documented history dating back around 150 years. Britain's made its first set, number 214 of the RCMP, over 100 years ago, and since that time almost every other maker has made at least one figure representative of Canada's police force.
I'm sure there are lots of you who have at least one RCMP figure in your collection, and that's probably why you're looking at mine right now. You want to see what I have in comparison to yourself, or where you can look to expand yours. I suppose the most common type of figure is the one painted in a wide-brimmed Stetson hat with a red serge tunic and blue pants. Sometimes these figures are sold on horseback in reference to the RCMP's musical ride. If you ever have the opportunity to see the ride, go for it. It's a great show and harkens back to the days when the then Northwest Mounted Police relied on horses to patrol the expanses of central and western Canada before the advent of cars. I know in Ottawa, Ontario, the RCMP maintains its stables for the ride and other ceremonial purposes. Each year in Ottawa, the RCMP musical ride performs its Canadian sunset ceremonies. This is a free event and allows the public to get close to the horses, meet the riders, and watch the ceremony in a relaxed and outdoor environment. If you want more information, check out the RCMP website to find out dates and times. My collection of RCMP figures is quite small. It started with finding the odd RCMP figures made by a Canadian company called Spirit of the Empire. This company is no longer in existence, but it made a variety of figures related to military history in Canada. I found an undated but interesting article in Old Toy Soldier magazine written by Bill the Bandman, where he interviews the original manufacturers of Spirit of the Empire. The article is worth reading if you collect Spirit of the Empire or are interested in the early history of the company and its owners. I think you will agree that the painting of these figures is well done and the figures are well sculpted, standing at about 60 millimeters. Because I started buying my figures late in the game, somewhere in the mid-2000s, my set is a bit of a mishmash of what was available. Kudos to Empire for also including a female officer in the ranks. Check out the 3 Northwest mounted figures done up in the pith helmets, so you can see the range of figures done. There's also a band major and drummers, part of a band available at some time earlier in the production. With few exceptions, all of my Empire figures were purchased from the Ottawa Toy Soldier Market, and I think I actually bought the last figures that this store had in its inventory. What's interesting about the Empire figures is the detail put into not only the figures, but also the packaging. A bit of a surprise to many of you is that these figures were sold in wooden boxes styled along the lines of old ammunition cartridge boxes, right down to the rope handles. While stumbling across the King & Country website several years ago, I saw these 2 figures in a subsection called Club Figure. These particular figures are, I think, limited runs. I believe there were originally 3 Northwest Mounted Police figures, but only these 2 were still available at the time. And when I checked this week, there was only the Bugler left of the 3. These figures are also well sculpted and painted, and they represent the RCMP from its earlier Northwest history, late 19th century. The other part of my collection includes some Johillco and Britain's figures. I don't normally collect Johillco figures, but these are, after all, RCMP, and they are sculpted differently from other makers. Next, I have a selection of Britain's figures, which I purchased over the years from Andy Morant in London. If you're looking for older Britain's figures, Andy is a good source. These specific Britain's figures were available from, I think, about 1920 to 1941, and they were described then as the Canadian Northwest Mounted Police set number 214. These figures are sculpted in what is described as winter dress, with a typical winter toque or cap, carrying a rifle at the slope with a bayonet. This combination seems really odd to me. I personally can't ever recall seeing any image of the Northwest Mounted Police or RCMP depicted this way. And these are truly a one-off, as Britain certainly did not issue any similar figures under another title. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Britain's was working from some historical picture, but in 1941, for obvious reasons, Britain stopped producing these figures, and in the post-World War II era, did not resume production of the winter dress figure, instead opting for what we think of as the more iconic figure in red serge tunic, blue pants with a Stetson hat, such as set number 1554, which is next up. Now, I've done some research using the books written by James Opie and Joe Wallace. From what I can see, the figures on the left were likely part of the earlier production run, say 1920 to sometime in the 30s, based on the browner color tones used on the jacket, etc. The figures on the right, again because of the more greenish hue of the jacket, would I guess have been available in the mid to late 30s till production ostensibly ended in 1941. I get a kick out of the facial paintings with their eyes and pencil-thin mustaches. Next to these are a third set of figures which I picked up at the December 2018 London Toy Soldier Show from an independent vendor. While these figures are styled along the lines of the Britain set number 214, there are differences in the weight, the sculpting, the bayonets, and the painting, which sets them apart from the Britain's figures. Still, I thought they were unique and sort of an homage to the Britons. This next group of figures are from Britain's set number 1554 with the original box. According to James Opie, these would have had a production run from 1937 to 1966. These figures have the pink hands, and according to both Wallace and the late Richard O'Brien in his book, Collecting Toy Soldiers Number 2, the pre-World War II number 1554 were a no-gloves version. Post-World War II, the hands were painted brown to represent gloves. Like the Empire and Johillco figures, these are in the traditional red serge, blue pants, and Stetson hats. And before I forget, here are a pair of modern Mounties I picked up in Old Quebec City at a store called Artisan Canada. Take a look at this pair. As soon as I saw them, I knew I had to buy them. I was told by the store's employee that the manufacturer, if that's the right word, was a local person named Martial Pepin. These are modified Britain's figures, and, well, whoever he is, thanks, you did a great job in capturing what makes Canada. I hope you enjoyed this small collection of the RCMP figures, and if you liked this video, hit the like and or subscribe buttons. Thank you, and see you again.